everyone! Welcome to a new video within the stock market investing and my favorite topic within it, which is of course dividend investing. Today I will be sharing with you what makes dividend investment so magic and the reason I'm pursuing this kind of investments. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the topic. The key and the magic of dividend investment is that if you hold quality stocks for a long term, and I'm talking 10, 20 years or more, you can get really crazy returns. And let me illustrate this with the examples of two very well-known companies. One is Coca Cola and the other one is Johnson & Johnson. Are you ready? Let's get started. We will start the example with Coca Cola as a company. As you probably know, Coca Cola owns many different brands within beverages, such as Fanta, well of course Coca Cola, Sprite, Costa, which is from coffee, Powerade, among many others. It is a company that Warren Buffett owns himself, so it's definitely a quality company. For the purpose of this example, we will be going back to April 1993, I know super long ago, in which the price of the Coca-Cola stock was roughly $10 per share. Now if we go back to just last year, 2019, we see that the price of Coca-Cola shares were roughly throughout the year at an average of around $48 per share. The increase within this period of 26 years has been over 380%, which is really a lot. And we're leaving aside the two splits that have taken place throughout this period of time. Oh, wait, you don't know what splits are? Splits is when a company decides to double or triple or whatever the amount of stocks they have while keeping the same total value for all the stocks they have. This basically means that if you do a split of 2-to-1, you are giving each investor that owns one share of your company another extra share. And of course, what this basically does is it reduces to half the price of each stock. And this is mainly done by companies in order to avoid the prices of stocks being very high and to allow for more small investors to also enter positions within their companies. So again, focusing on the example of Coca-Cola, they have had two splits of 2-to-1, giving one extra share for each share they owned before the split to the investors that were holding these stocks. This basically, the main implication is that the returns are just much higher in this specific example, but we will actually be omitting these splits in order to keep the example simple. If you would like me to make another video with maybe this same example or other examples, also including splits, let me know in the comments below and I can make another one. I really just wanted to keep it more simple in terms of for beginner investors and not complicate it so much, but if this is something that you're interested, definitely just let me know. I am showing you all of this in order to illustrate that this is a quality company that hasn't been increasing its value over time. In fact, they have been paying dividends and increasing them for 57 years in a row, which obviously makes them a dividend aristocrat. Now let's look at the dividends they were paying in the different time frames. If we go back to 1993, they paid in total in dividends $0.172 per share, which back then represented a dividend yield of 1.72%. And now let's look again at the dividend that Coca-Cola paid this past 2019, which was in total $1.6 per share. This amount, with respect to the average price that we mentioned earlier of $48 per share, means that the return per year was of 3.33%. These figures in terms of return are not very big. But now what we will see is what would have happened if we had bought stocks of Coca-Cola back in 1993 and we were still holding them today. We of course consider that we bought them back when they were at $10, and this past year the dividends were paid of $1.6 per each share. Therefore, the return on investment for this past year for those shares would have been of 16% just in dividends, which is absolutely crazy. And again, to emphasize, we are not counting the splits that also took place and that would actually increase this return even more. So first example done, we see that holding the stock for 26 years, I know, very long time, this past year they got, let's say, a 16%, although as I already mentioned, it would be even more. Now let's go and see the second example that, as I already mentioned, it's Johnson & Johnson, and I'm already advancing to you that this one is even better than the one for Coca Cola. So if you want to learn it, just stick to this video. Johnson & Johnson, in case you don't know it, is a company that sells pharmaceutical products as well as consumer packaged goods. Same as Coca Cola, it is also a dividend aristocrat and has been paying and increasing their dividends for 57 years in a row. Taking the same dates we took before, the price per share back in April 1993 was of around $10 per share. But what has been the price this past year, 2019? The price was around $130 per share, which represents an increase of 1,200% in the price of the stock. And that's not even counting the fact that there have also been two splits of 2-to-1, same case as before with Coca Cola, that have also taken place. Again, I will leave this of analyzing it with splits for another video. If you want it, remember that you just have to leave me a comment below. And by the way, if you're enjoying the video, it would really help the channel if you could just give it a like. Thank you. Continuing with Johnson & Johnson, the dividend paid in 1993 was of a total of $0.252 per share, which back then, based on the $10 per share price that we saw, represented a 2.25% yield. This past year, 2019, the dividend paid was of $3.75 per share. Considering that the average price we mentioned before of $130, this represents a 2.88% yield. These dividend yields are good, but not massive. But now let's go and see what would have happened if we had bought shares of Johnson & Johnson back in 1993 that we were still holding today. The initial investment, as mentioned before, was of $10 back in 1993, and the dividend paid this past 2019 was of $3.75. Therefore, it means that in 2019, the dividend yield was of 37.5%, which is absolutely crazy. And again, as I already mentioned before, we are leaving aside the splits that have taken place, which basically would mean that this past year we would be getting even more than 100% return. Which conclusions do I take from all of this? The first one is that holding quality stocks for the long term can give you crazy returns. Therefore, focus, and I want to emphasize this, on buying quality stocks. Even if the current dividend yield is not very high, if they increase in value over time, then you will also be increasing these dividends, which is a form of absolutely passive income. Which again, it means that you are basically getting paid for just holding that stock. You are not doing absolutely anything. But of course, which is the downside to all of that? That you need to wait for quite some time. Which basically means that the sooner you start investing, the better. If you are now 20 years old, 30 years old, 40, even 50, I would definitely consider investing in dividend stocks. Because as we have seen, if you manage to hold them for long enough, and you have a big enough amount of stocks, you might be able to generate enough passive income in order to have a decent pension, or in an even better scenario, you could potentially become financially independent, which would allow you to retire early and basically leave your current job. Anyways, that's it for today. Please leave in the comments below which stock from the two that I've mentioned, Coca Cola or Johnson & Johnson, do you see more potential as of today, and which one would you be more interested in buying? Again, thank you very much, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.